Hey boss, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. A little swamped from school, but otherwise good.
Hey, nothing wrong with being busy.
Yeah, it's better than not be, I guess.
True. Yeah.
Cool. I just watched your last match on the was that Primetime Live last night with Will Alday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crazy spots in that thing, man.
Man, that was nuts. That was a lot of fun though.
Jump across the ring. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah, things get into us. Now we go crazy.
Well, when you get a bigger platform, you kind of have to pull out the stops, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool, cool. Well, I got like a bunch of questions here that I'd like to go over if
Cool.
you'd like to answer a bunch.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this via Zoom. Normally I'm the guy like I will show up sick to anything because I don't want to let people down, but I can't be too careful right now, and I'd hate to be the reason someone else gets sick. So
No, that's a fair point, and I totally understand. I mean, this is a completely unique experience that we're having right now.
yeah,
And especially with your work as well. You got to
Mhm.
actually go in person to do your job, and so if you're
Yeah,
sick, you can't work.
yeah, exactly.
So it's a whole thing. You can't wrestle from home. I mean, that's
It's true. I've tried.
cool. Let's see here. Let's start with question one. How long have you been a pro wrestler?
I started back in 2004, actually. So I was 16 years old. I was still in high school. And every day after high school, I would drive man, I was in Tualatin at the time. So I'd drive from Tualatin to Hillsboro, like deep in Hillsboro to train. And we did that 6 days a week. The only reason we didn't go on Sundays is because the guy that ran the gym also ran church out of the school on Sundays.
Cool, right on. That's crazy. 16? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
I started looking for wrestling schools when I was like 13, but there was nothing in Oregon or Washington. Like the only thing I could find was like deep in California, and obviously as a real young kid, couldn't make that trip. But man, I jumped on it the second I found out there was a school in Hillsboro.
Is that what you always wanted to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the second I saw it on TV, it was like, this is amazing. And I was just hooked ever since. I had been searching for any live event that I could go to, like anything. I joined amateur wrestling in middle school in sixth grade because I was like, I want to get ready. Like, I know this is the same thing, but I wanted to get ready. I wanted to have that athletic skill.
That's dope. I did sort of the same type of thing, except when I was a young child, I lived in the sticks in the hills in Tennessee, away from fucking everything. So like,
Yep.
if I wanted to find a school, it'd be like, "Hey mom, can you drive me 40 miles to the?" And they wouldn't. So
Yeah.
instead, I decided to go to college. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I tried that too. It didn't work out for me.
I'm thinking once I'm through college and I get a decent job, I'd like to do that on the weekends or something, maybe just to try it out because I've always wanted to try it. So,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, YOLO, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. How does one become pro wrestler? Obviously, there's not like I can't get a bachelor's degree in pro wrestling. So, what's the process of school? How do you go and get admitted to a wrestling school?
Yeah, it's a lot easier than you might think. Just about any wrestling school would pretty much accept just about any student. And I know that it sounds weird, but it's also a business, and this is kind of the shitty side of it. So a lot of the times schools will just take someone's money and realize like right away, yeah, there's no way this person is ever going to go anywhere. They're never going to graduate from wrestling school, but I'll still take their money and just keep charging them. And it's kind of sad, but there's a couple wrestling schools around. There's one up in Washington that I go to somewhat frequently, not anymore because everything's shut down, but that's Without a Cause runs a school, and it's a Dragonplex is the school name. And the thing that I like about them is they're really honest with their students, and they're honest with what they need to work on, and they're honest if someone's not going to make it. I actually was a trainer down in a school in Salem, And without speaking poorly of the guy, the owner didn't want to say no to anyone. He would just, it's money, and money pays the building. So, if without students, there's no building. So,
Yeah.
if you only have, 3 or 4 students, that's not paying the rent. So I get it. But there was a couple people that would keep showing up and keep paying every month, and just there was no chance. And not to any fault of their own, they tried really hard, but there was just something in them. They didn't have the athletic ability, they didn't have the mental capacity to do it. And a couple times I had to pull someone aside, not as a teacher, but as a friend, and be like, "Hey, man, they're just taking your money. You should probably stop." And it sucks to hear, and no one, especially if this is your dream and you've been working at this forever, or you've been thinking about it forever, and someone says like this isn't for you, it sucks to hear, and it sucks to be the person to tell them. But man, I'd rather be the person to tell them than have themselves get hurt or spend all this money and just go to waste.
Right, right. How much is the average of a wrestling school per month? Like $200, or I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, it totally varies. I know there's a lot of variety. So I've seen schools as little as $25 per session. So depending, some people can't go every week or every day. So maybe when they drop in, they pay $25. I've seen schools. In fact, the one that I was head trainer at in Salem was $200 a month, and we
Okay.
worked out 3 days a week.
That's not bad.
But if you showed up once a month, you still paid $200. If you showed up every single training, it was $200. So it was kind of cool. But there's some that you pay up front, so $4,000, and that's good until you graduate. And they may have an end date, or they may just have a curriculum that you would pass, like be able to do all these things, and then you graduate. So it's a very wide variety.
Cool. Where my parents live in Tennessee, they live in this small town called Chuckey, Tennessee. Right down the road is a Ricky Morton school.
Yeah, School
And
of
we,
Morton.
and we drive by it all the time. Whenever I'm back home, we drive by it all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, oh man, I want to go in there. And my dad looks at me and goes, for real? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
not
for
with you,
real.
Dad. He doesn't get it, So
Yeah.
why did you choose to be a professional wrestler?
Man, I ask myself this all the time. And I don't know if I have a really good answer. It's just one of those things that, so I saw it on TV, and perfect timing because The Undertaker officially retired last night, I
I
think.
saw it, yeah.
But I saw The Undertaker and Mankind fighting. It wasn't even a match. It was some segment on probably Raw. I don't know. And they were fighting, and I was just absolutely captivated by this. And I was probably in kindergarten, maybe first grade. I don't know. But I saw it, and I didn't know what it was, but I loved it. And then as I got older, or actually for a little while, I didn't watch any wrestling because my parents didn't care for it. And it was only at the babysitter's house that I saw it that one time. And then when I finally saw it on TV, and I really got into it, and none of my friends at the time were into it. Until I met at the time my best friend in 4th grade, and we were both absolutely hooked. And it was like, we're gonna be a tag team, like we're gonna be wrestlers, like this is what we want to do. And I can't explain why. It's just something that has always kept my interest.
That's dope. Yeah, I was the same way. I didn't watch wrestling as young as you. I lived in Michigan and Alaska, but when I moved to Tennessee in middle school, that was the big thing there. People loved
Yeah.
wrestling in the South, and I was like, I don't know what this is, and started watching it. I was amazed. I was like, what's happening here? It's a
Right.
completely different world. And I dabbled a bit in backyard wrestling with my friends and got hurt and ruptured one of my buddy's spleen. So we all got grounded and couldn't watch for like a year, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a fun time. So you're in a tag team. What's different
Yeah.
between tag teaming and singles competing?
Um, it's a different landscape altogether. So I was in a lot of tag teams before Eddie Pearl and 4 Minutes of Heat. So in fact, there's like a running joke at DOA Pro Wrestling that I've tagged with everyone on the roster. because I had so many partners. I think I've been a DOA tag team champion like 5 times with 5 different people,
Wow.
and there were several that I never won a title with. But uh, so you go back and forth. But a lot of the times, those tag teams are just you show up and you see them once a month, and you that's it. You
Mhm.
don't talk to them outside of wrestling. You don't see them outside of the show. So that's the only time you interact. um, with Eddie, we talk literally daily, multiple times a day. And when we go to shows, we travel together. We it's 2 or 3 shows every weekend, driving up and down the coast, and you really bond and you have these ideas of how to uh, progress, how to get better, how to do things differently. Um, and so you really get to bounce these ideas off of someone and you get to grow together rather than just like as an individual. And obviously it's a little both. With singles wrestling, it's just you get to the show or your thing, and you have your own ideas and mindset and thought process, and you don't really have to think about anyone else. When you're in a tag team, you have to think about the other person. You have to think about what they're doing or how they're going to interact with you, and is just so much more going on. I don't know if I have a preferred one over the other. The cool thing is with the tag partner, like the camaraderie is there. So when we travel together, like it keeps me sane. uh, and there's nothing weirder than going to a new place and not knowing anyone. If you go somewhere, it doesn't have to be wrestling. Go anywhere, and maybe it's for a job or whatever, or school, and you don't know anyone in class or anyone at your job. It's strange. So having someone as a buddy that you can go to like makes things a little bit easier. So that's always cool.
That's true. Yeah, getting not knowing anybody is a little intimidating, I will say, you know.
It definitely can be.
Yeah, there's like that running joke. I've been to a few of your shows where you're the promo cutter and Eddie just kind of stands there.
Yep, absolutely. We balance each other really, really well. I have practiced promos forever. So since I was 16 years old, one of the guys that came through the school is like, "Hey, just start talking to yourself everywhere you go."
Yep.
So I talk to myself in the car. I talk to myself in the mirror in the morning, like cut promos or just ramble. The more you can talk, the easier it is to talk and just be comfortable with it. So I've practiced that. Eddie has not. So that's not his strong suit. So we're not going to highlight that. He definitely talks in promos sometimes, but we have different things that we're good at. Eddie's the artist, so he draws up the designs, he makes the logos, he perfects the look that we have, and I'm more of the business guy and like finding out where we're going and organizing the plan. Like, I mean, there's times where I'll show up at his house and he'll have no idea where we're going. I was like, getting in, we're going to California today, or we're going like that's the joke. So it works. I cut promos. He has great facial expressions. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good complementary of different styles, and I like that. You gotta have that chemistry. So,
Yeah.
how did you guys meet?
At school,
Oh,
training, wrestling training.
gotcha.
Um, Wrestling school, I should say. So he was coming down to Salem for that company that I was training at, and he had actually. I was at one time coming down there Mondays and Fridays, and he was only coming on Wednesdays. So we didn't meet each other for a long time. And then he was finally at a student show that I was at one time, and it was his first match. And I watched. I was like, this kid's been wrestling for like a couple of months, and he's already this good. So we started talking and kind of hit it off. And I got a message from a promoter said, "Hey, I need you to find a tag team partner for this show coming up on whatever date it was." And I was happened to be sitting right next to him. I was like, "Hey, I got you a booking, so you're gonna be my tag partner." And it was supposed to be like this one-off thing, but it worked really well. And I had a show planned in California that I was going to drive to, and I told him, I was like, "Hey man, I can't promise you any booking or anything, and there's probably $0 in it for you, but just hop in the car and let's drive to California and we'll see what happens." And they put him on the show. Virgil Flynn, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a wrestler in California, and he passed away a couple years ago, but he was known as having like the biggest heart in wrestling, and he was so giving and like he's an easy guy to talk to, but he couldn't tell anyone no. So when we got down there, I was like, "Hey, you don't have to, but I brought my buddy here and he can wrestle." He's like, "Yeah, I'll find a spot for him." So he got a spot, he got paid, and we just kind of hit it off from there.
Cool. That's great. Are there any wrestlers, past or present, that inspire you?
There's a ton. Um, in the past, like I'm and still present, I guess, because I still watch them all the time. Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express as tag teams
Yep, yep.
are so much fun to watch, and you can probably tell that's a lot of the stuff that we do comes from those teams. So that's great. But there, I mean, as as individual like wrestlers, maybe not so much, but I am inspired by a lot of things that a lot of people do. So I don't necessarily have like a person, but by all means, man, there's so many people that I can pick and choose from and like take little things from this person or that person or how they react and how they move and how they talk and all those things. Yeah, if I had to narrow it down, Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express, just as that four people.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's great. That's a good those are some pretty good ones to have. I mean,
Absolutely.
I see that type of wrestling a lot now in what's that tag? FTR in AEW.
Yeah.
They have that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
smash mouth, just kind of go, they're not high flyers. They don't need to be.
Yeah.
They're very technical. And I really like that. And I like the different styles that that company has. I really like that.
Yeah, they're definitely on the bucket list of teams that we want to wrestle.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's top of the top. That's up there with like like the Young Bucks and the New Day and the
Yeah. Yeah,
all those
absolutely.
big names everyone knows.
Yep.
Here's one that you're probably going to hear a lot. Is wrestling fake?
Of course. Yeah, I mean that like I'm not gonna dance around that fact. Like we all know that wrestling is scripted. There's a writer, it's a movie, it's a TV show. Uh it's it's everything like there's nothing to hide about that. Does it hurt? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it dangerous? Absolutely. Like, are we working together? Yeah, of course we are. But there's times where so is wrestling fake? I'll tell you two great stories about this. So my good friend, he was my best friend in elementary school, all the way up until like somewhere in high school where he moved away. And he was the best man in my wedding. But he was probably a bigger wrestling fan than I was when we were growing up, and we always told each other like we're going to be wrestlers, like this is what we're going to do, and as soon as we find the school, we're going to do it. And I had found that school when I was 16, and he moved away and he moved back for a little bit. And when he came back, like he started doing the ring crew, helping us set up the ring. And finally I convinced him, I was like, dude, you have to come down to school and train with me. And he's like, cool. And he works out. It's not like he was lazy or anything. Like he worked out. But we went to the school and he took one bump on the ring, which is when you fall down on the ring. And he rolled out of the ring. He said, I'm done. Like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. And so like someone that was so passionate about wrestling and still to this day is absolutely obsessed with it. Just it couldn't handle just one simple thing.
Mhm.
And then the other story is when I was 16, when I first started, and I was on the high school wrestling team. And there was three of us that were really obsessed with wrestling. Me, my friend Josh, who wound up wrestling for probably about 2 years before he quit. And then there was this other guy named Nathan, and Nathan was the one that everyone would think would make it. Like when you look at him, he's jacked up. He's a jacked up 18-year-old kid, and a state champion in amateur wrestling. And he came to school probably twice before he's like, nah, this isn't for me either. So like, yeah, of course it's fake and it's staged, but man, it is not for everyone. Like the people that you would expect to make it don't.
I would say that it's more choreographed. I like when people say, "Oh, it's fake." I'm like, it's predetermined, but like the
Sure.
bumps you take and the falls, that's not fake. You can't fake falling
Yeah.
from a ladder into a table. Like there's no way to fake that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's choreographed and the stories are written. So, and excuse me, I don't think there's any hiding that. Like everyone knows that it is. And I don't get offended when people call it fake. I mean, it is what it is. So is every TV show that we watch, but that doesn't change the fact that it's entertaining and that's captivating, and you want to keep watching to see where the story goes. So I don't know.
What's the most difficult part of the sport? And yes, I said sport. I know that's controversial, but
Oh, it absolutely is a sport. I appreciate that. In fact, I when people say this wrestling business, it drives me crazy.
it's a
Like
sport.
it's a sport. um, the most difficult part. Um, I guess it can go on multiple different levels. So, staying motivated to always be getting better is difficult for most people. Because a lot of people get content with where you are. So people start wrestling, once a weekend, and they go, "Cool, I've made it. Like all I have to do is just keep doing these shows, and eventually I'll make it big and start making $1 million." And they don't realize that like if you stay where you are, you're never gonna progress. Like that's just where you're gonna be forever. So that part's difficult. For the people that really put in the work, I'd say the hardest part is getting your name out there in a positive way. Getting new, like working in new places and meeting new people that give you new opportunities is really difficult for a lot of people. Because I feel like a lot of a lot of wrestlers are kind of antisocial for the most part. So it's almost difficult to branch out and network because it's just not what we're used to. It's like we're introverts. So being able to branch out and network is the difficult part of the wrestling business.
Gotcha. Okay, now we're gonna go to some terminology. What is kayfabe, and do you still practice it?
Yeah. Kayfabe originally was coined. That term was coined when you were trying to hide something from someone.
Mhm.
So, like if someone was walking up behind, like if you're having a conversation with someone and someone was walking up that you didn't want them to hear the conversation, you just say like, "Oh, hey, kayfabe," and then you would stop that conversation dead so the person wouldn't hear what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It also means like hiding any part of like how you do things and what you do. That's kayfabing. And there's multiple different like go wherever you want with that conversation. Do I believe in it? Yeah, absolutely. I say that right after saying yes, wrestling is fake, and I realize how funny that may seem.
Oh, I
But there's
can't.
parts, yeah, there's parts of wrestling that I'm not going to tell you. Like I've been on a million podcasts, and people will ask me about something, and I'll lie about it, and you probably know I'm lying, and I don't care if you know I'm lying. It's just like a magician. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, magic's not real. He's not really making that plane disappear, but he's not going to tell you. Like if you ask him, "Hey, did you really make it disappear?" He's going to say, "Yeah, absolutely," and you know he's lying, and that's fine.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, you don't want to reveal all the tricks of the sport because then it kind
Yeah, of
of
course.
loses its luster, I would say, loses its spectacle.
Yeah,
What are bumps?
yeah. A bump is anytime you take a fall. So anytime you get knocked down, or yeah, really anytime you get knocked down is a bump, and there's multiple different types, but that's the gist of it.
What are faces and heels?
Yeah, a face is a good guy, a heel is a bad guy. Just super simple terminology, but the face or a baby face is the person that fans can get behind, like the superhero of the movie, and the heel is the super villain. I think every good story, every movie, every TV show, uh, if it's any good, has someone that you want to cheer for and someone that you despise.
What is gorilla?
Gorilla is the position right before you go through the curtain to make your entrance, and it's termed from Gorilla Monsoon as a former agent for WWE or WWF back in the day. That's where he would sit. He would be the one that tells you when to go out and tells you what's going to happen right before you go out through there, or give you feedback right when you came back.
What is a shoot?
A shoot is not fake. So and then the next question maybe, what is a work? So I'll answer both of them
Yeah.
together. A work is something that is fake or scripted, choreographed, whatever. A shoot is when it's real.
What does being buried mean?
Being buried, man, it's kind of hard to sum that one up. So, um, in general, the idea would be that no matter who wins or loses, everyone's value goes up. And that's even if you lose, your value can go up because, man, that person just had a great match and it was phenomenal to watch. And even though wrestler A won, man, I kind of like wrestler B, or maybe I have a little bit more uh, uh, compassion, or I like wrestler B a little bit more because of that. So that's the true value in wrestling, is that everyone's stock goes up. Being buried is not letting their stock go up. So a lot of times someone will say that they got buried if they get beat in a poor fashion. Like a lot of times you see, not so much anymore, but back in the day, you see a lot of like really quick matches where somebody comes in and in a minute or two, somebody just gets beat up and just pinned, no offense or anything. That's kind of getting buried.
A squash match, basically.
Yeah. And I use that in the terms of in an actual match. The other way to do that is buried politically, or just verbally, where if someone's talking bad about you, or like kind of ruining your name, that's burying you.
Gotcha. What is a gimmick?
There's a million different things that gimmick could stand for. It's almost a running joke in wrestling that it's the term is way overused. A gimmick is normally your character and everything that you would do as that character. That's your gimmick. But it's also used like if you have a razor blade, that's called a gimmick. Or if you bring a snake to the ring, that's your gimmick. But man, when we're setting up a ring, the wrench that you use is a gimmick. Like, hey, hand me that gimmick. A gimmick could be your drugs if you're a drug addict. Like, there's so many different things that we use the word gimmick for.
What is getting over?
Getting over would be the opposite of getting buried. Like in a real quick term, over means you're winning. So if you're over in the match, that means you're winning the match. Getting over doesn't necessarily mean you win the match, but it means that your value has gone up.
Cool. What is heat?
Heat is when a bad guy is doing, or when a heel is in control of the match, as heat pertains to a match. Heat in the back may be that someone is mad at you or dislikes you, or has some reason not to use you. That would be heat.
What is a mark?
A mark is a fan of wrestling, but not necessarily a mark in the old school carny terms was someone that you're conning. And to give a little background story to that, way back in the day, when people guests would come into a carnival, the people that were taking the tickets would sneak a peek in the wallet as they were pulling out money and see how much money they had. And if the person had a ton of money, they would communicate to the guy behind the ticket booth to mark that person, so that the carnies knew who to work, like who they would yell at, like, hey, you come here. And they would do that by like throwing chalk or dirt at their back. So as they walked by, if you see that mark on their back, that's someone that I can take advantage of. That's not how it's used today. But that's the term. A mark is someone that's a target for a con. So today it's used more as just any wrestling fan. But I like to think of it as anyone that is our target audience.
Okay. What is selling?
Selling is progressing the story. So like keeping it real. a lot of the times you would see or you would hear it as like, if I get punched in the face, I would sell the fact that I just got punched in the face.
What is blading?
Blading is the act of like taking a razor blade and cutting yourself.
Gotcha. What is a finisher?
Finisher would be a move that you do that generally finishes the match. I think that that term actually got more popular when video games came out, because they would label stuff as like, this is your finisher, or, in Mortal Kombat, it was like, finish him. So I don't know if that term was really used before that, but now it's just everyone has their finisher.
What is a pop?
A pop is when the fans or the audience starts cheering. So they go crazy and they make loud noise.
What is a spot? And do you have a favorite spot, and or is there any spot you won't do?
A spot is a particular sequence in a match. And I think I don't have a favorite spot. Uh, I'm not a fan of doing the same thing every single match. So there's a lot of people that like to have their sequence that they do every single time, and I'm not a fan of that. Nothing against it. Like me personally, I just want to do something different. Um, there's probably a million spots that I wouldn't do, but it's hard, like just off the top of my head, to think of any.
Okay. Let's see here. I got about 6 minutes left because this Zoom doesn't give you a lot of time. We'll do,
Oh
what
yeah.
does 4 minutes mean, and how did you come up with it?
I was so 4 minutes of heat is an inside joke. So, like I said earlier, heat is when the bad guy's in control of the match. So I was doing a show in Las Vegas called Paragon Pro Wrestling, and D'Lo Brown was one of the agents, and and so was Sin Bodhi or Kizarni, and they were talking about a music, like me playing a song out in the ring, and the name of the song was supposed to be 7 Minutes of Shine. And that was where the whole thing started from. And then when we needed a tag team, it was just the opposite of 7 Minutes of Shine was 4 minutes of heat. So it's kind of an inside joke, and it was supposed to be like this one-time thing, but because it worked so well, we just kept running with it.
Cool. How has COVID affected the sport?
Oh, it's nuts. It's pretty much turned everything on its side. There's a lot of wrestlers that probably aren't ever going to come back because they've either given up or they don't have the drive anymore or whatever. Um, but it's changed it from a fan interaction standpoint to now it's like strictly filmed for TV or the internet. The cool thing is you still see a lot of shows out there that don't have an audience and they just film for TV or for IWTV is a really popular one right now that a lot of people are putting stuff on. But it's changed it a lot. It's hard to get into a wrestling school right now because no one's training anyone. So yeah, everything's different.
Let's see here. Do you have any thoughts on intergender wrestling?
I don't really have any thoughts on it. Like it wrestling's fake. It's a story. So
Right.
convince me that it makes sense and I'm all in. I've seen some where it's just like, it's not believable. And that has nothing to do with who is in the match. It's just what they're doing is not believable. And there's a whole, can of worms there with, what is believable in wrestling. And it doesn't matter. It's all personal opinion. So whatever you think is believable is cool. If it takes you out of the moment, then it's not for you. But that's not to say that somebody else can't love it. I find it funny how frequently people argue about intergender wrestling. It's like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. If you love it, keep watching it. Like, there's still going to be intergender shows, still going to be intergender matches. Like, I'm all for it. Just make it cool, make it fun, make it entertaining.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I mean, due to the way the sport is scripted, you can work it that way.
Yeah,
It'll make sense in certain ways. So
yeah,
I'm for it. I think more companies should do it, but we'll see if
yeah.
the big guys will do that. I don't.
There's a really good match with Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar from SmackDown 2004 or something like that. And Rey Mysterio is so small and Brock Lesnar is so jacked that it's not believable until they start wrestling. And then Rey Mysterio like bounces off the ropes and like runs in circles around Brock. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I've seen intergender matches that are the same exact way. Like when they're standing there, you're like, nah, I'm not believing it. But then they start wrestling and you're like, okay, I love it. This is cool. And that's all it needs. It just has to be the right people in there.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was watching, shit, who was it? It was Tessa Blanchard versus Sammy Callahan, and I
Yeah,
believed it. I was like, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, I bought it.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. If you weren't a wrestler, what would you want to be?
Man, I have no idea. And I know that's crazy that I'm 32 years old and I have no idea what I would do with my life. I will say that I went to college for marketing. And I did that because I thought it would help me in pro wrestling, and it definitely has. So maybe something there, but I also dropped out because I couldn't stand studying in college. So who knows?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm 31 this year, and I'm majoring in public affairs, political science. So almost the opposite of what you would want in the wrestling business. Let's see here. What is it about the sport that you love, that you absolutely love?
Um, there is a moment in my career when I think I was 19 years old and I was wrestling in Sweet Home, Oregon. And I had just wrestled my match and I was the match right before intermission. And I came out during intermission and I signed autographs like I always do. But this time there was this kid who was probably like 7 years old. And he came up and asked for my autograph and he said, Ricky, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And that moment is like burned into my brain as like one of the coolest moments ever. Like being able to inspire someone so young to do something like that is absolutely an incredible feeling. That goes the same as like when you have a big moment inside the ring. When Eddie Pearl and I won the Defy Tag Team titles, like that moment, those cheers and boos, that mix, um, the building was so loud. It was like it's an unbelievable feeling that I just absolutely am addicted to. And that kind of mixture of the outside of the ring inspiring someone and like internally growing up watching this and to having it like come to life because of my hard work. That's just two cool things that I absolutely love.
Gotcha. Did you have a gimmick before your current one, or a character before your current one?
I did. So before Rock God Ricky Gibson, I was rocking Ricky Gibson, which was a lot more of a flamboyant, fly around baby face. Before that, I was a hippie named Cosmic River, and I wrestled under a mask because I was so young. My facial hair wasn't coming in, which is funny because now it is. But I was so young that the guy was like, I can't put you on TV looking like you're 16 years old. No one's going to believe it. So I wore a mask. I wrestled as the Masked German #2. And it was one of those like we followed a big German guy around, and so that was that. And then before that, my very first wrestling character was Ricky Osborne, and that's pretty much my life.
Cool. I see a big theme in the characters.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Never give up. Like, and I know that's super cheesy and lame sounding, but and I never have, but there's been times in my life where uh you look at what's in like directly in front of you and you're like, man, this sucks. I don't see where this is going. I don't understand it right now. I don't want to keep pushing forward. But when you finally find what works and what's going to get you there, when that light bulb finally comes on, it's an incredible feeling. And it's really hard to see that sometimes in life. And I'm just glad that I continue. Like there was a time when I didn't think that wrestling was going to take me anywhere or I was going to be able to do anything with it. And as lame as it may sound, when Eddie, Pearl, and I started wrestling together, that reignited that flame. That's what I needed to keep pushing forward. And then this is where I am now. So it's been fun.
Do you have any advice for inspiring wrestlers?
Never give up. No, never stop learning. That's the biggest thing. Is there's so many people that feel like they're done. They don't need to learn anymore, or like, hey, I've already graduated wrestling school, so I'm done. But man, I pick the brains of people every chance I get. I sit on virtual seminars. Like I sit in the production room. I sit where they're switching the cameras on TV. Like I want to learn all of that stuff because I never know where it's going to take me. I got a really good term from someone once, like you have a set of keys, right? Your keychain. You have a car key, you have your house key, maybe you have a mailbox key, maybe you have I don't know, whatever. You have a bunch of keys on your keychain. Like if you hold up your car key, would you ever use that car key to try to open your house? No, maybe if you're drunk, but no, you wouldn't. You have a different key for that, and that's the same thing. Like the doors in life can be opened up with a key, and so if you only carry your car key with you, that's as far as you're going to get. But if you can collect all these keys and have all these different ways to open doors, you never know where it can take you. So be open to learning everything. Be really good at one thing, but be open to learning everything. Can take you a very long ways.
Cool. That is all the questions I have. Do you have anything, any closing statement or anything you wanna add?
No, man, I think we covered it all. I really like the innovative questions. It's a lot different than what I'm normally used to getting. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was trying. I was scouring the internet. I was watching was that Chris Van Vliet? I was watching a lot of his stuff, and I'm like, I'm taking that question and that
good.
question. So
Good.
Cool. Yeah. Right on. Thanks for taking the time to sit with me and answer some questions and do a 45-minute interview.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
Free. I mean, I can't argue with that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Well, thank you for thinking of me. I really do appreciate that, and I want to stay busy right now. So being able to do stuff like this is always cool.
Sweet. I'm gonna probably post this as an unedited thing on YouTube, and I'll send you the link. And then for my project, I'm gonna edit it, intercut some B-roll stuff from your shows and things like that, and I'll send you that one too.
Yeah, awesome. Feel free to use any of the stuff that you find on YouTube. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is a little bit strict about how you use it. So if you do use something, just credit their channel. That's all they care about.
Oh, I will.
Anything,
I'll put the little thing in the corner.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything you find from DOA or Defy or Prestige, they really don't care. But Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is a little bit strict about it.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo doing video. I went to college probably 10 years ago for film and video, so I kind of have a handle on that. So
cool.
Let's see. I have another question, mainly for me. How does one be a commentator? Who do I talk to do that?
Do you have any broadcast experience?
No.
I don't know. That's one of those things where the commentators normally like just somebody's friend that they throw out there.
Right.
So like DOA doesn't do commentary at all. The Without a Cause and Defy and Prestige all use somebody that they know from like they actually send them the footage and then they do post commentary.
Gotcha.
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood uses a couple people that are like broadcast experts. So like my advice for anyone that wants to get started in wrestling is just start hanging out. There's always a need for someone to help set up the ring. So, or help set up chairs or whatever it is. So just saying like, hey, I will do this for free. Like, let me come set up your ring and I'll set up chairs. I'll take the stuff from the ring to the back in between matches. Like just volunteering to do that is the easiest way to get your foot in the door. And then like the advice that I would give to any new wrestler is always be learning. So like if you show up to a show to help set up, then you ask a wrestler like, hey, can I sit by you while you talk about your match, just listen? Or can I like sit next to the music guy while he does his thing? And can I sit next to whoever to learn? And the more you get involved in that kind of stuff, the easier it is to start to progress, to get to a point where someone says, oh shit, we need someone to do this. You're like, I know how to do that.
Gotcha.
And that could be commentary, like, hey, our commentator couldn't make it, or like is sick, or his voice, whatever it is. That's how you get started.
Cool. Okay. So learn as much as you can. So like taking stuff back and forth, that'd be like a stagehand, I would assume, like in theater. I did some theater work.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of that experience. Yeah. I mean,
How much time do we have left on this? I have a story to tell, but I don't know if we're gonna get cut off.
just go till it cuts you off. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, cool. So there's this motivational speaker named Les Brown, and he tells a story of wanting. I don't know how old he was, but he wanted to be a radio disc jockey. And that tells you how old this story is. But he wanted to be a radio disc jockey, and his mentor said, just go down to the radio station, introduce yourself, and ask for a job. So he goes down and he says, like, hey, Mr. Butterball, my name is Les Brown. I want to be a disc jockey. He's like, all right, do you have experience? He's like, no. Well, have you ever interned? No. Are you going to school for this? No. Well, we don't have any jobs. All right. So he leaves. He goes back to his mentor. He's like, yeah, they said no. You got to be hungry. Go back, ask again. So the very next day he walks in. He's like, hey, Mr. Butterball, my name's Les Brown. I want to be a disc jockey. He's like, yeah, I know your name. Weren't you here yesterday? I was, but I don't know if someone got sick or, couldn't make it to work today. He's like, nope, no one's sick. See you later. So he goes back the next day like, hey, Mr. Butterball, my name's Les Brown. I want to be a disc jockey. The guy's like, we don't have any jobs. I already told you that yesterday and the day before. He's like, well, I don't know if someone died or got fired. And he's like, no one died or got fired. And comes back the next day. Hey, my name is, yes, I know who you are. He's like, and he's like, just go get me some coffee. So he winds up as an intern there. And then one day he's like, hey, I need you to go pick up Diana Ross in the Four Seasons and drive him around town. He gives him his keys, and Les Brown takes the guy's Lincoln Continental and drives these superstars around town, even though he didn't have a driver's license. And then while he was interning, he would sit in the studio and he would learn how they would produce the shows. He would watch them switch the records, and he would practice how to do the show. And one day a guy was on the air drunk, and the general manager of the station called Les and said, hey, figure out someone to take over. And so Les is like, well, I know how to do it. And so he got on there and he was a radio disc jockey, like just simply by staying involved and staying active. And the same thing could be told for so many ways of people getting involved in wrestling. They just showed up. They were just there to do it. And that story inspires me so much of like, man, all you got to do is just be there.
Cool. I like that idea. It shows like commitment, loyalty, work ethic, those types of things. Okay.
Absolutely.
Got a very old school feel to it. I kind of like that. It's not in academia. It's like, cool, you have to have this degree to get this job. And it's like, that's cool. But like, I mean, I have a lot of work experience. Can I just have the job? Like, you know?
Yep. Exactly.
Cool. I think that's all I got. So
cool, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. If you need anything else, just let me know.
Yeah, man, I will. Totally. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for some great what's the word I'm looking for here? It's been a time, some great recommendations on schools I'm probably going to look into once I graduate and get a decent job. We'll see. Hopefully the pandemic allows me to get a good job.
Yeah, and right.
I'll probably try that, I mean, you said there's no age limit. They'll take anyone. So
this is true.
I'm 31 now, so we'll see. Cool.
No worries, man. Awesome.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Hopefully you start feeling better.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Good luck, man.
Right. Yep. Bye.